there aren't actually any, if you like, statutory organisations that look after elderly people. And I think retired people need to have some group, some form of organisation, because otherwise retired people can get marginalised very quickly.
Ladies and gentlemen, what will we do in the autumn?
Are you all ready for the walk down by here? When we walk down by the right.
I realised that retirement would mean a complete new readjustment in life.
The only days I was unhappy in my life is when I was in the office. If you have nothing to do, you just deteriorate all the time.
There wasn't really a lot, only watch the television at night or, you know, little things like that.
What's your trouble now?
Those trees, I saw them being sown.
Well, it gets us out. It gets us out because when you're both retired and you're living, you kind of get into a little cocoon of your own.
There are a lot of things that are going on. Some people are interested, others aren't, but there's something for everybody.
Meeting people, all these walks are great, outings, all those things, I find them good. And it makes a different interest in life. We seem to have friends everywhere when you're in active retirement. Wherever you go, you meet friends. It's a big thing.
I found the job was very physical. It was a job for a young person. You had to be as smart on the feet the last day as you were the first. And needless to say, with time going by, I could feel that aspect of the job getting the better of me. I was actually quite nervous of retiring. I was wondering how I'd spend my time.
I was a teacher at a university in the state of New York and retired early. They asked me to retire early to make room for younger people coming in, and I accepted that offer, and here I am.
Well, I retired 8 years ago because I had been ill and in hospital, and I was advised to take life a bit easier. So with the help of my family, I decided I would retire at the end of the school year.
When I started working in St. Bridget's 40 years ago, I knew that when I came to 65 I would have to retire. But some years prior to that, I decided that when my children were educated, I would retire. And the day that my son got the result of his final examination, I wrote out my notice. The first 2 weeks were like 2 weeks vacation. But as time went on, I knew that I was no longer coming back to this desk. This phone wouldn't ring anymore, and all the hustle and bustle that went on for years and years before that was gone and gone forever.
For most people, the job means more than putting food on the table and paying the groceries and so forth. It's at work we have social contacts, and that's where we have our friends, and we are part of the system and part of the gossip, and people have a purpose in the day, and they are identified in the community by the work that they do to a large extent. So it was always going to be a big change.
When my husband died and my children left home, there was a huge void in my life. I missed the buzz and the excitement attached to pub life. I missed the interaction with people particularly. And I remember I used to go out in the street in the morning, and you'd meet people and you had all the news of the day in the first few minutes. And now I missed all that. As somebody who has lost a partner, it wasn't easy going to a pub or a restaurant or go to a theatre on your own. And I also discovered there were an awful lot of other people in the same situation. And there was nothing much for people over 55 in this town. So I was very prompted to set up something.
I met Chris O'Flynn one day downtown, and she was full of enthusiasm about these active retirement groups that had been formed in different towns in the country. And she was very anxious to start one here in Ballinasloe, so needless to say, I thought it was a brilliant idea as well.
I met Anne Goodwin, our development officer, and she told me about this great organisation which was geared for the over 55s, and it catered for people of all tastes, and so it was a growing organisation. So I thought this is what we needed. So she came along, and with two others we got posters printed, and we rented out a room in Hayden's Hotel, and we sat and we waited and hoped that somebody would show up. But fortunately 45 people from all walks of life came, and it went from there, and it was great.
I had never heard of it until I saw it in a newsletter one day and about a meeting of the Active Retirement Association in Golan. So I went, and I was asked the first meeting would I do chairman. So I agreed for the first year, and I remember sitting beside Christina O'Flynn and looking down at the hall full of people, most of whom I did not know. I knew maybe a half a dozen.
I'll tell you what, would we leave it at that? We possibly may have the lorries, but possibly may have. Also, if any of you have a friend who think that they would,
we were most determined that we would draw up a programme that would meet all of the health and social and psychological needs of people in their 60s or more who are no longer working full time. Because bear in mind, in this town there are over 1,000 people who are over 60, and retirement is the start of a new chapter of life, and given reasonable health, people can expect to live for a further 20 years.
When I first heard that Ballinasloe were going to have a meeting to start the Active Retirement Association, I thought it might be interesting.
Well, I had no tremendous reason for joining, only the fact that I had retired, I was well retired, and I was talking to my wife was talking to somebody about it, and we both agreed that we would like to join it, and why not? From the social side of life, nothing else.
So a friend of mine said to me one night, will you join the Active Retirement? And I said, what is that? And she told me. And she said to come to a meeting in Hayden's on the following Wednesday, there'll be a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. A neighbour of ours, Betty Ling, who's now the treasurer, talked very glowingly about it altogether and said he should come, and I thought we'd give it a go, and I went to a meeting or two and I liked it very much.
I came to the Active Retirement the very first night in Hayden's Hotel, and my reason for coming was my husband had just been diagnosed with a heart condition, and I felt his lifestyle was going to have to change a lot, and that maybe I should come see what he could do for make things different.
Well, health issues would be very important at this age, because I suppose we're all moving on, and there might be things that we haven't maybe thought about or that, and to listen to health talks and be aware of what may be happening.
I am very thankful for the health check, because I discovered that I had very high blood pressure that otherwise would have gone undetected for I don't know how long. I had no signs or symptoms, but there I had it, and I was told that I was quite lucky I hadn't got a stroke.
Oh, loneliness, I think it's a killer, because people that are lonely, they grow more introvert. And it's that loneliness that, as I say, it's a shyness, you see, it's in all of us. But once you can get through the barrier of the shyness and talk to somebody, well then, it's that, as I say, it's like people coming for their pension to the post offices. It's a big thing for a country person, because that's when they meet people to talk to. The fairs long ago, that's when the people met each other, you know, to chat and talk.
Dr. Michael Hogan gave us a very informative talk on the psychology of ageing, in which he said if you don't use it, you lose it. And he also said that we don't really lose our memories, that it might take us longer to recall certain things, and that the more active we are mentally and physically, the better it is for ageing.
On the health side, we had talks on depression. The hall was packed. We had a talk on cardiac health with Dr. Barton of Portingland, and again the hall was packed. We have aerobics. We have a social committee that has done marvellous work. We had a talk on making wills in the law. we have pitch and putt, we have the bowling, we have gone for walks. We have a wide range of activities that meets the needs of most people.
And to our credit, we have read 19 books. Some we liked, some we didn't like.
My children gave me the present of a computer, and I sat there with this, as I called it, a monster in my room, and I was afraid of it, a little bit apprehensive about trying to use it. But our chairman came along then and he organised a computer course, because it wasn't easy to go to a computer class and sit beside a young person. So in a group situation, and with all of us the same, more or less the same age and at the same level, it was so much easier because the teacher took us at our own pace.
I don't see retirement now as the end. I see it as a time of opportunities, and an opportunity to read and write and learn and do courses and travel. And it's so much easier to do all these things in a group situation.
It is most important to be well prepared for it and to get active in a number of other organisations, particularly the Active Retirement Association, who has absolutely provided a lifeline for a large number of people. I was absolutely thrilled to see in Spain and in Westport people that before hardly knew each other, to see friendships develop, and sometimes close personal friendships can develop.
They had an outing to Spain, and I went on that outing and met some wonderful, wonderful people. And one of those people who I met is Gillian Shannon, and her and I became good friends. And she is coming to the United States. I'm going to kind of show her a little bit about flying my Piper Warrior, my little four-seater, all right? And I don't know how she's going to take that.
Well, it's a challenge. It's a big challenge, and you're never too old to do things, a new venture. So, really looking forward to it.
I would advise them to prepare for their retirement in advance, 2 or 3 years in advance. Maybe join some clubs or get involved in activities, because when you retire you have time to do these things more than you had while you were working. And I would also advise people to join an active retirement group if there's one near them at all, because it broadens your horizons, it broadens your contacts, and there's a lot of activity involved in it.
Against the glass flapping, I surely hear somebody sighing. It's the sound, mother dear, of the autumn winds lying.
I think people should think about retiring beforehand and not wait until they're pushed out. I think the last thing anybody should do is be kicked out of the job they were in. To plan ahead and join some group or organisation, no matter what kind.
I'd say never look back and always look forward. All right, you never know what's around the next corner. And so if there is a challenge out there, it can be very interesting and adventurous. And sometimes living on the edge can be a lot of fun.
It has made an enormous difference to my life. It has really, I feel my life has is longer now, because I see an additional stage after retirement, which is active retirement, and then out there in the distance I see inactive retirement, where we'll never be alone and we'll always be there for one another.
When we started out, we drew up a programme that we hoped would meet all the health and social and recreational needs of retired persons who are starting out in the last chapters of their lives. And of all the activities and tools we have done, apart from the benefits in themselves, the shared enthusiasms of talking about and planning and organising those events was exciting in itself. And to see groups of people strolling around the walls of Derry with newfound friends, or sitting outside a cafe in Barcelona, sharing their lives and their concerns and their experiences with other people, it has been a marvellous experience, and I feel the Active Retirement Association has made a major impact on the lives of a lot of people.
I don't know, maybe they were expecting someone to try to come and attack them.
Everybody needs a little help sometimes. No one stands alone. Makes no difference if you're just a guy like me or a king upon a throne. And there are no exceptions. We all stand in the line. Everybody needs a friend. Let me tell you of mine.
Don't put down any challenges, take them on. Right?
Accept everyone, what comes your way.